Hello and welcome to our fourth in our series of Tech Week podcasts with Innovate Fingal. My name is Sean Fahey, my business is Fahey Media, and I have just finished up my chat with Su Qiang, who is the director and owner of SolarHub.ie, and Peter Finnegan, who is the manager of Innovate Fingal. Su, and much like myself, are tenants, residents in one of Innovate Fingal's centres. So it was a very interesting chat about Su's business, SolarHub, his entrepreneur journey, as well as talking to Peter about how Innovate Fingal supports entrepreneurs like myself and Su. It was a really interesting conversation from both parties involved, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. Welcome, Su. Welcome, Peter. Su, we'll start with you. So for anybody who hasn't heard of your company, can you give us the elevator pitch? Who are you? What does the company do?
Yeah, SolarHub established in 2022. Basically, what we do mainly is B2B wholesaling on solar PV system to the trade. We don't typically dealing with homeowners. Mainly is installers or commercial company or project. Typically, we did the job over here on the roof. Basically, that's where we are. We're trying to use my own advantage to outsource the best product with the best price.
Am I right in saying that you're pretty much exactly 4 years in business? I think I saw that you were started in May 22.
Yeah, almost exactly 4 years, but we only, because of the special time period we went through 20 to 23, 24, I'm actually personally start solar job, which is mainly thermal job, since 2007.
Okay.
So this is way before nearly anybody who involved with solar.
Yeah.
And regarding on solar PV is more of my own personal interest. Start 2013,
Okay.
14. So I start to learn how this work and where to get the best materials and who is ahead for technologies. And so I have good foundation built before that.
And what does the business look like today versus, I guess, when you started?
I have to say it's a fast-growing, unfunny industry.
Yeah.
Compare a few years ago, as I said, back to 2000 until even 2019, solar in Ireland pretty much is somebody I want to do it, but it doesn't make economic sense. For example, we have done a job back to 2016. The payback period can be 25 years after finished. And with the technology at the time, the system only lasts for 12, 15 years. So now it is very fast growing. And personally, I do see a big difference. From the consumer behavior and point of view, like homeowners or business start to realize, okay, this is working. Like I remember back to when I start the business in 2007, we had an exhibition in an RDS. A lady came over. Oh, what is this? It is a sunbed. Yeah. When I said, well, I'm sorry, this is a solar panel. Oh, young man, I'm afraid you're in the wrong country. So that was I never forget about this.
Yeah.
And she was really looking. Oh, young man,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I think you're in the wrong country. We need more sunbed.
Yeah.
And rather than now, everybody talk, oh, I want solar. You can see from the demand, the consumer is changing.
Yeah.
And for business owners, for homeowners, you can see even the last 2-3 years, there's a lot more panel.
Yeah.
Than previously on the roof. This is good to see. Yeah.
And then Peter, can you set the scene for the other side of the table? So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about Innovate Fingal, and how you and Su cross paths?
Well, about myself, I suppose I would claim to be a bit of an entrepreneur within the system.
Yeah.
So entrepreneurship is a state of mind, and I take chances and risks, so that is never part of the equation. And I'm working now with Innovate Fingal, and Innovate Fingal is attempting to recreate the notion of what enterprise centres are about and reach outside the centres and build a community of entrepreneurs and support that community. And Sue came first into contact with us when we were looking just post-COVID. We had got some grant money in one of our centres to actually put in some solar, tackle some of the environmental issues. And Sue won that contract. And he did such an excellent job on that occasion. He went on to do a contract here in our second centre here in Drynan. So the first centre was in base in Mulhuddard in Dublin 15. And the reality is then he became a tenant of ours because we had a very large unit. He was importing an awful lot of stock from China in terms of selling on to business. And he's currently in our largest unit as a tenant. And we like to work with our tenants, which is why we're also working with you on the media side, because that supports the tenant's business. But he is on notice that the minute we get enough money to convert that unit, he's being thrown out because we want to create a high-tech innovation centre in that particular unit.
Great. Well, maybe not great, maybe.
So I haven't lost my speed.
Right. Okay, so Sue, back to you. You're originally from China. What does it look like? Like, how did you come to Ireland? How, I guess, from the outside looking in, how has it been setting up a business in Ireland?
Yeah, I came to Ireland now, it's nearly 26 years.
Okay.
So I came here in 2000. Personally, if you ask the reason, I can't really tell at the time. My father's a builder, so I do have a civil engineering background.
Yeah.
And your childhood, probably summer holidays or this and that. My one, probably working in the summer for my dad on building site.
Yeah.
So obviously, I thought at the time I don't like building or I don't like anything like that. But I think it's more you don't work with your dad.
Yeah.
So I left the country. Actually, I go to summer for a year or two. Yeah. But eventually I settled over here, and just for simple reason, I like here. And obviously, when you stay anywhere, you need to make a living. So I try to use my advantage. I did a lot of cultural exchange, working for my employer who bringing in foreign student for language training. Then I realized there's a lot of during the period I learned there's a lot of people need to, for example, Irish importers went to China, couldn't understand each other. I did a lot of help in between them at the time, and then I said, okay, there's a gap for me. Maybe I can run my business to use my advantage to which I understand both sides culture.
Yeah,
I can speak a little bit language, and that's how I started the business.
And I think you've touched on a few ventures already, and we'll probably talk about one or two other ventures as well. But I think you're a bit of a serial entrepreneur. Like, where do you like have a sense of like where that comes from? Like,
okay, it's very simple. I live with myself. I don't think I'm that smart to create or that many things. Or what I do is I travel a lot. Okay, I travel back to China quite often, and I travel to across Europe a lot. And I would like to see what is out there and what's the difference between here and there.
Yeah.
And what can I do to bring this to land it to another country with then to make my margin.
Yeah.
So yes, I do travel a lot, and also in the very beginning, I have to say, we even back to the time when I was in college in China, we're talking, okay, we need to learn the European high-end management skills or all this and that. And then after a few years when I was here, I said, okay, there's a lot of stuff I can bring over just because simply we're a little bit ahead. So yeah, that's my main idea come from.
I think just, if I may, on this whole thing of entrepreneurship, one of the things that struck me, because I've about 40 years of working with community enterprises and that kind of thing, is a key ingredient is curiosity and openness to new ideas. So that curiosity is something I always see in an entrepreneur, because they're looking at what can I do next. And the ever important thing, if I can, and it's one thing in Innovate Fingal we're very strong on, is the importance of the new ethnic community entrepreneurs, people who have come to Ireland, have settled in Ireland, because they open up Ireland to the rest of the world. The kind of connection that Sue has to China is an example of that. But they also bring a totally different perspective on some of the creative projects that yield business results.
I guess directly on that, you've talked a little bit about, obviously, you're bringing in products from China. There's a lot involved in that, in kind of manufacturing and the supply chain and import and everything. How do you ensure that both the quality keeps up and that I guess we are staying ahead of the market, or we are at least catching up to the Chinese market as much as possible?
This is, I gain most of the trust from my customers, I have to say, over the last nearly 20 years. Basically, it's a very good question. So you bring in any electronic product, anything, there is a warranty, but this warranty is, if without any background check, it really means nothing. So you need to know who you're buying from and where you get it, who they are. And that's would be my advantage. I simply, through the traveling, I can find out, okay, this is a proper company, or this is somebody I have no problem to deal with, or they may have European office, or, which we can get on with for after sales service. And also, you nearly need to know the background of, especially typically for the solar PV business, grow very, very fast. So there's a lot of finance investor involved on this business. So some company can lose very, very big, and they can be looks like a fantastic business, but just big, very heavy finance involved on the bike. And one day investor can say, I'm sorry, this is not making money. We'll land it somewhere. And that can be a problem. So this is all the background search I have to do when I, as an importer or as a agent for the factory. So yeah, that would be my main advantage. I would say any product has a problem. It's a matter of how you deal with it.
And you've deliberately gone B2B. Is there a particular reason why you've decided to go the B2B route rather than selling directly to homeowners?
Yes, I have to say I've been there and done it. I used to have an installing company for solar thermal job, but I don't think that's my advantage to manage 30 staffs. Like imagine you have a small, even medium-sized installing company. You will need to have marketing team, sales team, installing team, after sales service, and office admins, all this. So I can see comparison with other people. That is my advantage. My main advantage, I would say, is on site to see what's the difference and how can I solve the problem if there is any. As I have a couple of years of installing problem, so I'm very, very understand what installer need. So I know the problem, I can fix the problem. That's why B2B mainly.
And to be honest, you've led me directly into my next question. So your side, and I think you've just said it in a very slightly different wording, is if the solution you need doesn't exist, we create it. And you also talk a lot about fair pricing. So what, if it is the case, in your opinion, is broken in the Irish solar market, and where do you fit into that?
There's a lot of well-known brand, out there, but genuinely they are very pricey. So, but a lot of them actually just branding. So they can be used to making fridges, and then they do see the opportunity for PV or solar, and they could use their own advantage. I own the big brand, so I use somebody else to make the product. But I know who making this product. So literally, if I go to the company who making this product, they don't have as good brand as the first one, but it's exactly the same product. That's where the better value come from.
And maybe for listeners who are listening or watching, and maybe even are the homeowners who would just be interested in your knowledge in the field. Like solar is something that's advancing so much in recent years. Like, what does a good, robust solar setup look like these days?
I have to say, solar is quite a luxury component in the house, and it's not something you have to have. But now it's turned into something can pay the back very quickly, which is you don't have anything in your house able to pay the back. If you think about it, you have the best efficiency boilers. You only keep using your gas, but solar you actually eventually will pay the back. Um, Regarding on where I think getting more simpler and simpler. For example, I can see maybe in the next few years we're able to have a solar system plug in. As you buy a fridge, you hang in 2 panels in the back garden, plug into the socket, it will work. Probably wouldn't generate big amount of power, but for in something very popular in Germany for the last 2 years, they call balcony solar.
Okay.
So you have 2 panels hanging on the balcony, plug into the socket, you get maybe 1 kilowatt every hour.
Yeah.
And for me, the best system is the most simple system.
Yeah.
So you can have a very high-end smart AI built-in inverters, all this, but maybe homeowner doesn't know how to use it.
Yeah.
And that is a problem. So, and then you didn't pay for the value neither.
Yeah.
So it depends who using it and what's your demand. And I have to say, nearly every system has to be tailor-made.
Yeah. And I'm going to go back to you, Peter. I feel like I'm cutting
No,
you out
no,
of the
keep going.
conversation.
I'm happy. I'm learning here as well.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'm going to have a talk to you about solar after we're done this. But we've talked about, I guess, the technology, the desire for return on investment. And I guess that's maybe where Innovate Fingal fits in as well. That you have worked together on a couple of projects already. There is the eco side, the part of us that wants to just be better entrepreneurs, better business people. But how does your working relationship work in terms of, like, have you already begun to see the returns on some of the investments that you've made?
Well, certainly in relation to the solar panels, and it's a relatively small scheme in both Base Enterprise Centre and here in Drynan. That's covering our core costs in relation to electricity around the year.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's actually, and I discovered this, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's light, it's daylight, not simply the power of the sun. So obviously on a day like today, it's much better, but as long as there's light. So the winter isn't as good as the spring-summer period because of the length of the day. We've certainly seen a return. In the case of Base, it's met all our core needs. It's not enough for our clients.
Yeah.
So the big project that we're developing and hopefully will implement is to actually create within Base on the roofs of our industrial buildings a solar farm, an urban solar farm, and effectively provide that solar at a lower cost to some of the high electricity and energy users in the park, for example, particularly in the food industry, where there's a high use of energy. And I think solar is one part of a bigger question, not just for business, but also for the country. And that is, how can you become more energy independent of the traditional fossil fuels and effectively, therefore, not get the kind of upset in price that we're seeing now because of a certain country invading another certain country, and because of the political correctness of mentioning names, I won't mention which country I'm talking about on either side of that.
I guess you've touched on. I'd be curious from your side. Have you, obviously, you deal in B2B, but your B2B clients are fed by their B2C. Like, have you noticed kind of recent events making kind of an uplift in solar demand?
Yeah, it's a big. We're gaining more and more trust, as you can see from the more and more panel on the roof. But on the same time, I think mainly as a business owner, the major problem for them is, yes, part of green looks greener is better, but it's investment and is safety. I mean, when I say safety, it's a safety for return and safety for whether this thing going to cause any trouble. So they, as the investment is bigger, they do need more more explanation, how more security
Yeah.
for them. So we're here to educate them, I think. Or if you say you build a system for somebody without anything in front, that is a commitment.
Yeah.
I think this is important. And in a lot of country, that's a part of thing I learned when I travel is a different business module. Like you keep saying solar is working. Why I have to pay everything in front?
Yeah.
Why? What about if I pay you a little bit more and you look after it? What happens if there's a problem? Maintenance, after sales service, and I'm willing to pay you a little bit more. I don't want to put just because I put in more solar or put in solar, I have to hire a full-time electrician.
Yeah.
So this is the concern as a business owner. They have to think about it. So I do see there is different modular need to be
Yeah.
in and this was very successful in other countries.
So like your model then of business
Yeah.
would cover kind of the installation right through many years of supports.
Yeah.
It's
So
a bit like hiring an electrician company or electrical company to run electrics in a business.
at the end of the day, we can come up as a solution that people who has more trust, more understanding on this can be an investor. So somebody has money, okay, rather than let this money stay in the bank, and this is guaranteed. So all the figure can be easily worked out. If I put in the system into this place, like PV farm, most PV farm are invested by fundings, all these other places. So it is slower return, but it's guaranteed. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to turn to you a little bit, Peter. So I think you've already answered a little bit up the top, kind of introducing yourself. But so what is Innovate Fingal? But particularly, what does Innovate Fingal? What does it look like when an entrepreneur like Sue, or I guess even myself, walks in the door? What are the kind of supports, help that Innovate Fingal provides, and how is that maybe different than if they just tried to pursue things on their own?
Well, the first thing is the origin of Innovate Fingal lies within the community enterprise centre concept, which goes back at this stage. I think I first got involved community enterprise in the 1980s. And in this particular kind of area, which is Fingal County, there are 3 centres which originated with local government support from Fingal County Council. One in Base in Mulhuddard, Dublin 15, one here in Drynan, outside of Swords, and one in Balbriggan called Beat. Innovate Fingal has brought the 3 of them together into one company. And Innovate Fingal continues to provide space, but we have limits on space. At the moment, for example, we're virtually full in all of our centres. So what we want to do is to reach outside of the space. In other words, create an enterprise framework that has no walls and support entrepreneurs in different ways. And we're developing some of those innovative initiatives, particularly around the use of IT, networking. I think it was Kingsley Aikens is a guy who's big into the networking thing for years. But the fundamental thing about networking is it's the contacts you make that drive your business development. What do we do differently? We're not going to claim to be radically different. We have a nicer smile. We operate in a more understanding way because we try to accommodate new startups. We try to support people because our income stream comes from obviously our rental of space, but we try and ensure that our rental of space is lower than what's in the general market and relative to the needs of the business at a particular point in time. So we have a particularly interesting growth business, for example, in Base at the moment, and we are not going to charge anywhere near the full market rent to see how that business gets on. So we do that. We also link people to some of the people they may already be talking to, like the local enterprise office. But we provide a range of supports, and one of the areas that we're going to strengthen is that networking with people like themselves. And we're also trying to push new ideas, and I mentioned one earlier, Like if we're trying to develop an innovation or if we're trying to develop a product which relates to our own service, why not do it in partnership with one of our own tenants? So we're helping to build their business model as well.
Great. And I think particularly in recent years, but I think Fingal has always had some history of it. There's been a bit of a boom, I think, in terms of tech and innovation in Fingal, being so close to it all. Like, what is your read on that?
Well, I think Dublin itself, so the Greater Dublin, I have to confess I worked for Dublin City Council for a while. So the Greater Dublin region has obviously benefited from an enormous amount of investment, inward investment, and creative energy and innovators, for example, in the tech scene per se. And that's, you can see Smart Dublin, etc., coming out of that. I think Fingal is one of the rapidly growing areas in the Greater Dublin region. And it has that capacity, particularly because of the nature of some of the investment that Fingal County Council has made and the AI and that had made to actually enrich that landscape of tech entrepreneurship, and not just tech, but pharmaceuticals, etc. So there's a wide range of very innovative activity going on in the Fingal area. One of the positives about Fingal is the airport being located within it. And that also makes it very easy for international companies and international connections to work very handily here, because if you fly in or you fly out, you're literally on the doorstep of the airport. But a lot of that then is also driven around issues about data centers and, tech. There's the downside of that, which relates to the energy draw. And there's the other side, which interestingly people like Sue might help solve, is finding new ways to actually generate energy from the work of the data center itself and from installing solar farms in the area as well.
Great. I'm going to turn back to you, Sue, because this is maybe... I'm very interested to talk solar and everything, but when Peter was telling me all about you and when he mentioned one thing, I was like, I can't wait to grill you about this or to find out about this. Could you tell me about your project for an RV park?
Well, it's still under process. We are working, still haven't got a contract signed. We're trying to buy a site.
That's why I didn't name the site. Just in case
press
that
me
would
go up,
complicate things.
as you do. But we have pretty much everything agreed, and we have met the local council already regarding pre-planning. That's all been done. The reason it's a big jump for me. Personally, I like glamping or campings or on the countryside or so. But what I found in Ireland is the business can be very good. I know myself, we have spent something like €180 a night down in the middle of nowhere, with the room only not even bigger than twice of this room, and with nothing, no facility, nothing. And I don't know why we went. I didn't know how much we paid. When I asked my wife, for that, So it is seasonal. But the major reason for seasonal is, imagine down the countryside you have big camping site with a 50 pot or 50 rooms or whatever. Consumption is a major issue for the site. But I have a solution for that. So to link with my own knowledge, we can literally have, say, solar or even wind, and build my own storage to supply the site. And that is one of the reasons why somebody can't get their planning when they're trying to apply planning permission for a larger camping site. You have to think about storage, you have to think about traffic and consumption on electricity. You can't turn down the local power just because you put in 50 pot and local farmers have no electricity tripping out. And so, but I think I have a major solution for that. And plus my personal own interest, I like glampings or camping. So yeah, that just came very nicely. We didn't plan. Literally, I actually stayed down there for one night. I've been there a few times, and that's how it happened.
And I think you have plans to bring in some super duper kind of units from
Yeah,
China.
we actually have some of these in Dublin already, and you know the new planning come out. You can stay 40 square meter, 45 square meters, I think, down the back garden. I do see not a problem, but you need to do the right. For example, if you have electric heaters, electric cookers, notice you may have electric car.
Yeah.
Your house input probably not able to manage all this.
Yeah.
So you have to do it right. You can nearly have maybe 10 kilowatt for the back garden granny flat for in the winter time, and your maximum input for the house normally is only 63 amps, which is probably 16 kilowatt, something around that.
Yeah.
So that flat took
More than half.
more than half.
Yeah.
And then you may have electric car, you may have electric shower.
Yeah.
So these all against each other. This is no good. And but to do it right, as I haven't mentioned, when I do the solar hot water system, mostly rather than electric is a plumbing.
Okay. Yeah.
So I have good knowledge how to heat the house and control. We actually have a project just before COVID, which is supported a lot by Enterprise Center. Is still there, called 18 degrees.
Okay.
So we can remotely control your heating in anywhere in the world. So imagine you go on a holiday, where you can turn on your heating when you're on your way back, or turn it off during the time you're not home, and all this. So the plan we have is for the modular house or pod we are talking, is use solar to generate power, and use a heat pump to drive it, and we're going to pre-made everything from the factory, lift it over.
So this would work in the camping or caravan or RV park, but it also works in someone's back garden.
Yeah, I think this can solve some of the problem if the planning, everything goes through. It can work for a lot of people. Chop one pot in the back garden, and you can either run it out or recently talking to a builder. In the country, especially around Dublin, we need a lot of builder to build houses, but they have nowhere to stay.
Right. Yeah.
The workers.
Workers. Okay. So he's talking to see if he can get a temporary planning, and this is really up to. I have to say, this is better living condition than our house. It's not like a container room and you put somebody in. This is really high-end living condition.
Yeah.
So if I gather maybe 10, 20 of them, put on site or somewhere outside, put worker and commute them, bring them in the morning and send them out. One guy actually said, I don't know who I talked to, but he mentioned we need 1,000 staff for building the routes to the airport.
Right.
Where are they going to stay?
Yeah.
So maybe it is something. I don't know how big the business can be, but I think I have all the angles thought to fix the problem. Like mainly is electricity for individual houses.
Yeah.
So to bring the gas line to the bike, it can be a problem, and it cost very costly, and to have another heat pump installed individually for your granny flat is nearly making nonsense.
Yeah.
So, but if you have something built all together, and also because of the shortage of builder, you can really end up somebody dragging this project for 6 months, which is very common.
Yeah. So it's very interesting. And can I ask about, I guess, the site in Roscommon? I said we're talking about high-end Chinese RVs, maybe the kind of tech and RVs that we're not familiar with at all in Ireland. Between their accommodation and maybe anything else you have planned for the site, what does the stay for an Irish family in your dream park look like?
Mainly, we thought about a lot, but I think as the size of the site, we may have a little bit problem for car park, so traffic.
Okay.
So we thought of it bringing a lot of stuff in the beginning, but after we move a little bit closer with the architects, imagine you have a lot of facility, do need a big car park,
Yeah.
and you could increase traffic in the area. That can be a problem,
Yeah.
but instead we're trying to create in Ireland, especially winter month, and this is like all the councils or government support is extend the leaving period for countryside, which main reason you need heating, and which we have that problem solved with over renewable energy in place.
And Peter, I think you had a term for it earlier on, and I've completely forgotten it. But you spoke a little bit about bringing, I guess, foreign ideas, foreign investment, foreign development in, and how that can be important to local business development. Can you speak a little bit to how, I guess, all that we're talking about here
Yeah.
applies to that?
Well, I think I hate to use the word foreign because we're all part of the big humanity.
Yeah.
But anyway, I see where you're coming from. So the critical thing for me, I think, is that we're a very small island.
Yeah.
And our best strength is our ability to engage outside of the island. And one of the things, and there was a recent article on this in the Irish Times, is about affinity Irishness, or affinity, that's basically someone like Sue, who's moved here. His family's somebody who comes and studies here and then goes on, if you like, to set up a business somewhere else. That provides us with a networking connection to the rest of the world. So the important thing there, and I mean, the IDA is obviously constantly in search of new investments coming in from abroad, and we've been very successful at it.
Yeah.
But the more we can strengthen the human connection to the country in which there's new ideas, there's new investment, there's money, the more we can bring some of that here. So there's growing innovation and growing entrepreneurship at home, and individuals who have, I mean, the Irish were the same when we moved to the United States and other places. You tend to actually look for opportunity. So people who come here look for opportunity, and therefore they can actually feed our innovation landscape very much. But they also create connections back to their home countries. So, and those connections are about investment as well as about new business kind of markets.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of things that I think we can help in community enterprise centres by encouraging new ethnic communities to actually look at entrepreneurial ideas and make them real, and creating that community of connectedness. I'm not sure if I'm quite answering your point there.
Yeah.
So the global Irish are available for business any day.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing. If you have some money, bring it here. If you have ideas, even better.
I'll stop here.
So we're getting close to the end. So I want to bring it back around to you. So I want to bring it back around to Solar Hub. If we're looking to the future, if we're to look 5 years ahead in the future, how do you see the solar market in Ireland in 5 years?
Okay, Ireland, have to say, grow very fast for the last few years, which is a good thing. And we're lucky in the industry with fast growing, and but potentially the problem with solar as solar growing is, as we have similar problem for downgrade the power from the grid, is you upload too much power to the grid. Imagine whether like today everybody had solar and ESP probably not able to manage. So next generation, I think, for business on renewable energy will be storage, and there's a lot of in a lot of cases is if I explain to you, understand, we have evening rates cheaper.
Yeah.
The reason that is nobody using the power, but we use gas or whatever generating the power. We can modulate that,
Yes.
but with the solar we can't. So we could have a lot of power in the wind power typically in the evening, nobody using it. So, and then like say business park like this, where I'm probably not able to put a lot of solar, I'm not able to put a lot any wind turbine, but I can put a big battery to storage the power This actually brought into law since last year across Europe. We call dynamic tariff has to be in place. I think in earnest start this month or next month. That a lot of business to nearly I'm not fully understand the policy yet, but you can nearly charge your battery, and somebody will pay you. At later stage, when the grid need power, you would
Transfer
upload
it.
back to the grid and make more money. So the payback can be very quick. So all this business back to international investment, all this modular being proved in other countries and everything. So if this thing is started, you can easily import in a lot of investment into the country, and they are looking for any new policy come up, and there are people with the money waiting for new policies and new investment.
And just can I ask, in China, for example, are they actually addressing how to make better, bigger, and more stable battery systems? Because
Yeah.
obviously there's been huge development in electric car batteries
Yeah.
in the last 10 years.
So I would say nearly 80-90%. Don't quote me on that, but I know for a solar panel, more than 90%.
It's not being recorded or
Yeah,
anything. Yeah.
and but for battery, the first few biggest battery supplier is all in China.
Okay.
And I went to one factory there. They rebrand. They're mainly OEM making product for other companies. I went in one factory. They have 60,000 people, one factory, and they have 17 factories across the world,
Yeah.
everywhere. Altogether, I think they have 500,000 people work for them. It's like a city.
Yeah.
It's like a city. When you went in, literally like a city. So I do see there's a big advantage on that, and technology compared with a few years ago, it is there already. So it's a safe and it's a good in return and all that.
Okay, to round us out, I have a couple of questions I want to ask both of you. So, if there is maybe a young entrepreneur, or maybe even not a young entrepreneur, somebody who is just thinking about starting out in a business, that is watching this, that is listening to this, is there something that you each would maybe like to say to them, perhaps even something that you wish you were told earlier on in your own journey?
I think from my point of view, the first thing I would say is develop your curiosity. So look beyond your immediate idea and try and see what are the pros and cons of it. And then be prepared to take risk. I think that's calculated risk, obviously, but if you never make a mistake, you never actually succeed. So one key thing is don't be afraid to get something wrong. And I think the more you actually network with people who can bring expertise and experience to you, the better. So, it basically, I suppose I said earlier that a lot of my entrepreneurship has not been about making money, but it's about facilitating innovation in how the state engages with people who are effectively the engines of the economy. And a lot of that was risk-based. So you came up with a new program, a new idea. You had to sell it. That's the first thing. You had to prove it had a financial underpinning that would sustain it. And then you had to take the risk of implementing it and everything be flexible enough to change as you go along, because nothing ever works out the way you expect it to. And what's the old saying, no plan survives the first engagement with the enemy. So, when you're engaging with a marketplace or your product kind of suppliers or your customers, while they're all friends, they're also enemies in that context. So your plan has to change.
And the same to you. So, is there anything you would say to somebody who is maybe at the early stages of their journey?
Yeah, I was more than 20 years entrepreneur in the business. I have to say, before you make a decision, you have to be careful or think about it carefully. It's full of challenge. It's not easy, but it also full of happiness. And a lot of entrepreneurs, I suppose, talk to a lot of mature entrepreneurs, a person, and when you talk to, oh, I don't want my son to be an entrepreneur, and it's nobody know how much we went through, what happened to us. But on the same time, life is full of challenge. We need challenge.
Yeah.
So, and it's more, as Peter said, you need to be stay in when you look at something and you like it or you want to do. You need to stay in the same business long enough, and don't give up.
Okay. And one more for both of you, and it can be as open as you want it to be. But is there something that you are very excited about over the next 12 months?
You missed like, give me more time to think.
Something that I'm particularly excited about over the next 12 months, I suppose from the point of view of my current involvement in Innovate Fingal, I think the next 12 months is going to be critical in making it truly an innovative piece of the entrepreneurial landscape across Fingal. And what I'm excited about that is that we have an opportunity to break down the walls of the traditional enterprise centre culture. And the next 12 months is about putting that into place. We have an opportunity to see our hinterland as not simply being Fingal, but beyond Fingal. And there are immediate outreach places for our entrepreneurs, our businesses that go beyond Ireland, obviously. But even within Ireland, the development of the Belfast-Dublin corridor, which the councils are all working along that corridor, has huge potential. I mean, in the simple kind of area of tourism, for example, most people who land in Dublin Airport as tourists head south to Kerry or west to Galway. Very few go north, and along that, not just north in terms of Northern Ireland, but north in terms of north of Dublin. Yeah. So I think there's opportunities there, and I have a pet project in the back of my mind that we were pushing some years ago about and using solar in this, but electric car rental, which took you on that journey north with different staging posts where you simply change the car. Okay. Now, I gather in China now, you simply go in and change the battery, which gives you longer driving. Yeah. So there's lots of innovative niches that can be created in that show how this kind of area of Dublin, this area of Ireland called Fingal, can actually lead the way in terms of developing entrepreneurship. And for me, the next 12 years as well, but the next 12 months is an opportunity for Innovate Fingal to really put a footprint in that space and show how it can actually help build that infrastructure, which is a human infrastructure, networking infrastructure for entrepreneurs within the Fingal area.
Great. And there's a tough answer to follow. Yeah. But is there anything that you are particularly excited about over the next 12 months?
Well, I do see, in between two countries, as a Chinese myself, in between two countries, I do see a lot of more connections. And I have to say more and more connections. For example, Chinese open for 30 days without visa visit. And I do see two countries' leaders getting more and more often communicate each other. And that's all helps. And that's all positive. And as somebody running in between two countries, this is something I do see can help a lot for entrepreneurs. Yeah. And new policies, new business, and new ideas. Yeah, so I'm happy. Yeah.
Okay, to completely round us out. Sue, how do people find you, contact you, learn more about Solar Hub and your business?
We do have a website, solarhub.ie, and we have, if you're an installer, we're quite well known already these days, and we run a lot of solar training as well, and we have nearly 3 places you can pick up your gears. One in Base, one in Southside Dublin, 2 in Southside Dublin. So, solarhub.ie, the easiest way to find us, or just Google Solar Hub.
Great.
Yeah.
Look, thank you very much for taking the time to come in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.